Hey Ian, you ready?
You bet I am. What are we talking about tonight? And talk about guns?
If it's not a 30 cal, I'm not in.
Jeez, mate, that's not very inclusive. Have you seen Jono?
Hey Jono, you ready?
Well, God knows where he is, mate. He's probably caught up in the neighbour's wire again. You ready to go? Let's do this.
Mate, I'm ready. Let's crank it up.
Righto then. Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of the Hunters Campfire, where we're going to talk about all things hunting and the great outdoors. And we'll probably throw in a few tips along the way.
You want a tip? Say it once, say it 1,000 times. Goats love rocks.
Or a few things about deer. Mark, what do you reckon about deer?
As a deer hunter, I love hunting pigs.
Well, that's about as useful as I expected it to be. Oh, check it out. Here comes Jono. He's being chased by the neighbour's dog.
Okay guys, let's get this started. Welcome to the Hunters Campfire. Pull up a chair, get comfortable. It's time for the Hunters Campfire.
Hello,
Good
Jono.
evening. Good evening.
Fast on the go button.
Look,
weren't you, at the time?
different t-shirt.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm wearing a different one too. Look at that.
Yeah, but
same.
that's not important.
I'm branded at least.
Yeah, you are. Good on you.
Yeah.
But yes, Mark, you are wearing a different color tonight. Thank you.
So-
You're making a considered effort to have a different color shirt every
different.
podcast.
When you see the green ones, I want you to take notice of that pattern. That's the different pattern. But we'll work that. So that's 2. So I've got 4 more to go.
It's incredible, isn't it? You make mention of a man's fashion and he can change the colour but not the brand.
No, well, it fits. I like them.
How many have you got? Those have you got like 11 of them or something?
All of them.
6.
I get 6. Though I just did buy some more QU gear.
If you
So-
didn't know, Mark's wearing a Kuyu shirt because he's a Kuyu fanboy.
Yeah,
But that's okay. It's a good product, isn't it? People do love
And
it.
then Dave Willie.
And I got 2.
Big Willie.
I've just bought 2 more items So I bought my first pair of camo pants
Ooh.
from KUYU, as in camo pants.
Yeah,
I used to wear
serious?
solids.
Picking up the bow.
It's not my.
Which ones did you get?
I got the katanas because I like
Actually, have
them.
those in a plain color?
I do. So I've just bought those in the KUYU Digicam one. I can't remember what it's called.
Multicoloured
Maybe it's
digi?
the
Or
Verd
the Blanda
or the
version?
Verd,
I think
maybe.
Verd, is it? Yeah.
Verd, maybe it's Verd, maybe
All
it's
right,
Verdi.
since we're talking about Kuyu, for those that are interested in trying to figure out sizing and go and get their own gear, because Kuyu seems to be creeping in, how do you find it for sizing? Is it true? When we say true
That's
to
why I
size,
like it. That's
talking
why
to
I like
merch
it.
people today about true to size. What's true to size mean? If you're generally what medium, or what is it?
Generally, what I like about them, one of the things I like about them is I have only ever sent back one item, and that was because of the design, not the fit. It had those zippers that are underneath your arms,
Oh yuck!
Oh,
don't
yeah.
know.
and because I have massive lats, it just was too
Oh,
uncomfortable.
Because you're so buff.
That's it. It's just
Poking on
uncomfortable.
the sides.
It's uncomfortable. And so I actually said, look, I don't, and they went, sure. And I said, what jacket do you have that doesn't have it? And they said, we have a soft shell on one of those. And I said, I will take that. And presto changeo, new one appeared.
Just
Nice.
well,
So I have a selection of their gear, that's for sure. I've got, I've
Ever-growing
actually got
selection.
KUYU that I don't wear hunting. So
It's a fashion
those,
brand as well.
No, those summer tops that I was using 2 weekends ago, Ian, 2 weekends ago now.
I didn't take too much notice of your fashion on the day.
Well, you did actually.
Oh yeah,
You
I
mentioned
did.
it.
I did. The
I've
like
got a
the
blue one of those for
super
the
breathable
boat.
ones.
I
those
got a blue
really
one of
light
those for the boat. Yeah,
Yeah.
I got one of those for the boat.
Yeah, very good.
That's it.
Excuse me.
And I've got camp clothes as well, so like hoodies and stuff like that.
Have you got matching pajamas or?
No, in no instance do I have matching pajamas. No instance. No.
Oh, well, it's good.
No,
Let's move.
that-
Let's move
no,
on.
no, there's not. No, but in no instance, in no brands, I do not have that. That is not available to me.
Let's change.
Mark's
Jono.
going to be walking around the Pelago in his QU pajamas.
Well, probably not. But maybe I could walk if they did have thermals, then that might be the coup.
That'll be next on the.
Surely they have thermals.
They
I
must
don't
do.
know. I haven't thought about it. Because
That's
when
going
you
to be
buy
tomorrow's order.
when you buy their gear, it's like because they go hot weather and it's like from 7 degrees to 21 as they're hot, and you kind of go, okay, sure. So yeah, I've got no, I don't have any thermals by there, but I've got their other stuff, and it's fantastic.
Good.
So that's it. But we were talking about cars.
Yeah, I was going to say, talk to us about cars.
Well, we were talking about hybrids and all that stuff, weren't we?
Yeah, well, Jono obviously scans the market for cars because he's always looking to get something better than the Triton. So he's currently
Don't knock the Triton, mate. She's a good car.
Yeah. Yep.
I believe that just down from Ian's there's a bloke with a silky and a horse. If you're after something better than Triton, it's got more horsepower. Yes, this started for those listening and still managed to stick with us. Ian mentioned his consumption rate in the V8 Patrol, and we started to talk about things like that. And we got on to electric cars, and we got on to Jono said there is a new Hilux coming out. That is, go on, Jono, tell us about it.
Yeah, so the new Hilux is a mild hybrid. It has a 48-volt mild hybrid powertrain, and it is due to arrive in Australia within 2 or 3 months. So it's not a full hybrid; it's a mild hybrid.
What does that mean? What does that mean to the petrol guzzling patrol owner?
I don't know exactly what it means, but what I have, one of my relatives in the UK has a Volvo that has they don't call it a mild hybrid, but it's a very similar word. And basically what it is the electric motor takes care of all the electrics, and the internal combustion engine is only concerned with the drivetrain. So even things like, the the transmission. It's an electric transmission rather than a transmission driven off the engine. So all those kind of things.
So it says, Wikipedia states a typical mild hybrid uses a belt power generator motor unit driven off the engine to supply power to a small battery.
Yep.
And the generator is also powered through regenerative braking, enabling power that would otherwise be dissipated as heat to be recaptured and recovered for use in powering the vehicle.
That was the word, regenerative.
So that's coming to the new Hilux?
Yep.
So it's not a plug-in machine. It's still
not a
still fueled up at the Bowsers. I was just looking at the thing that was plastered on social media today, that if the new tax gets up for emission controlling vehicles, if the new tax gets up for vehicles that have emissions higher than a certain level, people will be stung somewhere up around $18,000 more for a Ranger, Hilux, Triton equivalent, which is a massive increase for the regional family that has a family car that's a ute, a 4-door ute type thing. It's ridiculous. But
the thing is, that's not a regional family. That is that combination is now
that's a lot of families.
That is the Australian family car. That is it. A 4-door ute is a family car now. So and that's why the libs are calling it the ute and family tax, which actually I saw something, one of the Labor pollies asked for that to be struck from the record, and they said no. So that's what it is. They've found a nice wedge to drum on it. Yeah. So it's the ute and family tax, they're calling it. That's good, because most people, a great many people have a 4-door ute as their family car.
Right, and they've done, they did tests not long ago. I was reading another article where they were testing petrol versus battery for the good old family holiday, Melbourne to Sydney, and they tested identical model BMWs. One was electric and one was petrol or diesel. I think it was petrol. regardless. One was fuel, one was electric, same shape, same, everything else. It was just a different engine in it. And the fuel-powered version came up trumps. Got there faster, got there cheaper. Not by a heap, but still, the whole battery thing seems to be a bit of a fallacy still, with the cost to manufacture it and the waste that they produce and things like that. But yeah, it's going to be a great debate for quite some time to come. Interesting to see where it lands.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I'm hanging on to D-Max. Because I don't know what's coming down the pipe, so I'll stick with that until it's no longer, I can't fuel it anymore, but I'm sticking with it for the period of time because I know it works and I know I can do all the things I want to do on it. And when they figure out what they're doing with, I mean, I was reading this thing about the Toyota hydrogen. I think it's in Melbourne. They take 15 minutes to fuel hydrogen as opposed to the hours it takes to charge a battery. And the guy one of the test companies was actually a security firm. They said we can't have electric cars because we have to have a fleet that we know that if we can jump in at a moment's notice and hit the road. So
Yamaha have released a hydrogen-powered outboard. I don't know if you saw that. It's a concept at the moment, but it's the first hydrogen-powered outboard. Yeah. They did it at a boat show in the US recently.
I mean, I if they could make a electric or a diesel electric ute that had the range and all that stuff, yeah, sure.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's right.
About it.
It's not about whether you want fuel or battery. It's about its actual capability.
You want to have that thing you invest in. You want it to do what you want it to do, rather than invest in it and then it.
I'm not sure how well the old Tesla will go with a 3-ton camper on the back.
Yeah, I don't know how they go with towing.
Well, I have not actually seen it. I mean, I know that they're building, more capable electric vehicles in 4-wheel drive and things like that. I just wonder, what percentage of battery they drain with all of that extra weight on the back for the, the round Australia tour, or even for us, 5-6 hours to Nundle.
Yeah.
Are we going to make it type thing?
Yep.
Don't know. Interesting.
It is. The boat idea is quite interesting.
Hydrogen-powered outboard. Yeah. Just quickly back to the Hilux. So, found an article. The Hilux iteration features a 48-volt mild hybrid system with a single motor incorporated into the powertrain, adding an extra 16 horsepower, 12 kilowatts, and 48 feet-pound of torque. So basically, a small 48-volt lithium battery powers the motor, and being a mild hybrid, there is no electric-only mode. So basically, it is 5% more efficient at the pump versus the standard diesel powertrain.
5%. That's a lot of development for 5%.
Yeah, well, I mean, but that's it. It's
and $1,000 extra dollars.
It's all well, I suppose if you think about it as a fleet vehicle, that's what it is. If you're running a fleet vehicle, that's. I am assuming that's probably where you'll see most of these start with is fleet vehicles.
Well, that'll do on cars.
So actually,
have you seen,
so the Rivian? Have you seen the Rivian electric cars? So that's got a 5-ton towing capacity.
I did see something,
but I don't know what the range is.
Yeah, that's right. You can make a really heavy duty chassis to tow anything, and it can go really freaking slow. I'm sure it's better than all electric vehicles here. There's a place for them. I'd love an electric car to zip in and out of town and not burn the fuel that I burn with what I have. So just in and out of town where I don't have to think about it. Perfect. Charge it off my solar. But the miles that I do for work, there's absolutely no way that I'm going to be trying to plan a route that allows me to stop at quick charging stuff that. What a pain.
The Rivian R1T maximum towing capacity is 11,000 pounds, which is 4,989 kilograms. He says the truck's range he's gotten out of it is 280 miles or 450 kilometers.
Well, that's what's that? What's that machine?
That's
Rivian,
a Rivian
R1T.
Yeah.
So that's a ute.
The ute.
Right?
It's a ute. Yeah, it's a truck.
Right. So if you've got a current Land Cruiser, loaded up with all of the family stuff, it's not towing 4.5 ton. It's probably towing 3 ton, maybe a little bit more than that. You're probably not going to get a huge amount more kilometres than that by the time you suck it down.
How long does it take to fill a cruiser?
In my 79 series, if I got just over 450 Ks, I'd be driving it off a cliff. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but with the cruiser, you can pull up to any petrol station in Australia and you can fill it up. With the Rivian, you're going to have to plan your trip.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I can't remember what they're saying. They're getting out of cruisers towing 3 ton, but it's certainly under 700 Ks. I don't know how much more than 500 it'll be, but
I'd want it to be more than 450 Ks because that's what that's.
Oh, to drive you mad.
That's not even Roma, isn't it? It's like, okay,
no,
it's going to thug a minute. It's taken me 4 days. During the night, a guy on a horse passes you. Sleep on a horse passes you.
Just pull over at the nearest public stop and put the solar panels up. We'll get going next week.
And the next morning, drive for 4 hours. That's it. We're done. Pull over. And
there's going to be someone listening that's a mad electric car fan. I want to hear from you.
As I said, I think I don't. It's not the technology; it's the application.
Sure.
I want there's a reason why I buy the vehicles I buy. There's a reason, and if it can't do that, then it's you don't buy it. It just doesn't make any sense.
So apparently, the Rivian Ute, which retails around $90,000, and promising a towing capacity of 5 tons, has been ruled out of the Australian market until 2024.
Yeah,
the space.
But interesting, like when they said some guy got 450K out of it. Did that say while towing, or he just gets 450K out of it?
No, that's towing.
That's towing. What's its range without towing? Does it say?
I think it was.
Be interesting to see what percentage it loses under tow.
We do the Rivian RT1 range.
I mean, look, it'd be nice actually to move around a state forest in a dead quiet car.
410 miles.
410 miles.
110 times.
160 by 4. 640.
660. Yeah.
Oh.
Right.
660, which is what I used to get out of my Jeep.
You could get that out of an electric Ute.
Yeah.
And if you're towing, you could get 400 miles.
450.
You're losing.
Basically 30, almost 30%.
Yeah.
Which is not bad, towing 5 ton. Jeez.
Well, that's what it can tow up. I don't know if he's saying he tows 5 tons.
Let's not dive any further into that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
They've got some work to do. And they'll probably replace it with something else. Where's nuclear in all of this? Surely there's going to be little nuclear.
Cold fusion.
Yeah, like what's your name? Back to the Future. Where you got the Kenwood Chef version of a little reactor in the back of your car, and you throw in some scraps, and away you go.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about something else. Cars are boring. Gear. I bought one of those little things on social media that stores all your USB.
Should you be talking about this?
Yeah. Stores all your SIM card, SD cards for your cameras.
Yep.
Yeah, you see it popped up, slides out, you put them all in there, and the first thing I saw on there was, that's the dumbest idea I've ever seen. All you got to do is lose that, and you've lost everything. Well, fuck me, I've lost everything. I can't find it anywhere. I've been searching high and low. It's got all my footage on it. I laughed at that post when I read it, and now I'm kicking myself.
I got for Christmas the what's the brand? I can't think of the brand now. It's they make camera gear accessories like frames and stuff. Small rig.
Yes.
I got a little one that carries 6 SD cards, and I use that for the spare so that's the spare cards for the cameras, and that's really good. It's because it's tiny and it's hard case, so it doesn't. And you swap the cameras over because I just bought 3 new cameras.
Oh, these are your trail cams.
Game camp trail cams.
Yeah, well, tell us
Yeah,
about this
trail
trail cam.
So
we don't need to wallow in my pity.
a little while ago, I did a video that's on our YouTube channel about changing up my trail camera game, and I bought one, and then I decided to buy two more, and then Jono asked me what I bought, and I told him, and that triggered me to buy another one. So I now got four, because I lost the trail camera on my not when I went up the last time. I realised I'd lost the trail camera. I'm pretty sure it got washed away. So these trail cameras are cheapies from Amazon, but what I like so they operate almost exactly the same as all those other ones. You know, the menu is almost exactly the same. But what I like about them is the very simple thing is they have a view screen on the front. It's so you put it on a tree and then you open the view screen and you go, oh, that's what I look like, rather than do that kind of put it up there and move it and then kind of do that weird thing where you try not to move it too much and you look at it and you try and figure out if you can.
Well, you close it and it goes 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and you do the moonwalk in front of it to just check that it's all working.
That stuff. And is it flashing, all that stuff? No. There's a little 1.5, 2 inch screen. So it's a little bit, it's just good for, they do call it a viewer screen, but I think it's just an aiming screen. So you just put it on the aim function, set up, you look where it is, you close it. So it doesn't open up barn door style at all. So the batteries are in like a cradle and you push them up inside it. It'd actually be good to have a couple of spare cradles. That you can't buy them because then you could just literally go out, and if one of them was not, was showing no battery, you could swap the cradle over, and the SD card slots into the little near the viewer, and it's protected by its own latchable little cover. So I've got 4 of those now. So I've got 2 of them up there right at the moment, kind of almost looking at each other, because there's a part of the block that gets a lot of traffic. So I want to try and get a bit more understanding what it is. So I've concentrated them, because I had them spread all over the block and there were some weren't getting anything. So I've concentrated them. And I hope to get up there in maybe 2 weeks. And then I'll be up there on the 25th, or maybe a bit later. I'm up there the Wednesday and Thursday before Easter Friday.
Speaking of that week, Ian, our red hunt is on anymore?
No, sadly. These things happen. It's Easter. Families show up onto places that you don't want them to show up when you want to go shooting. And unfortunately, the offer for us to go up and have a red deer hunt has sadly died a miserable death. So we're open. We're free, listeners. We're free and available.
Yeah, if you need help,
if you need some help on your red deer hunt, we're happy to jump in and give you a hand. But yes.
Well, I thought, I'm going to go down to Nundle and do some pre-scouting and get ahead of everyone else. But that's all booked out as well.
It is bloody busy, isn't it? Like it really, everywhere is so busy this year. So you could still go pre-scouting. You just can't take your rifle.
Yeah, driving all that way and not taking a rifle.
Exactly.
There's some keen fellas in the Hunt Camp chat group right now that are planning on doing some pre-scouting without rifles, getting some trail cameras in there.
They are far more dedicated than
Wear
I
your
am.
blaze, fellas. Wear your blaze.
Yeah.
And go in the middle of the day. Don't go in the middle of hunting time.
Yeah.
Middle of the day.
So I'm red deering 27th and 28th. And
we're available if you need help.
No, sorry. What is
that?
really
Remember that.
Oh, let's not go down that particular track. The interesting thing about the 27th and 28th, or the more globally, is if you've seen any of my posts on Facebook about hunting the red deer block, or any of the videos that I've done for SSAA or for us, you'll notice that there is a lot of video of me kind of longingly looking at deer over the fence. I now have access over the fence.
What does wirecutters do?
And I don't even need John to help me.
Well, there you go.
I've been
The
letting.
appeal for Jono has just disappeared. How far is the next neighbour's fence, just out of curiosity?
I've been basically I've been given access to about another kilometre in
Nice.
direct line of sight to the next fence.
Is that going up towards the hill behind, or
No, running parallel along the ridge line. There is another property further up the hill. So I've been looking on Google Earth and getting an understanding. So the dam that I've looked at longingly and had video of, pigs and deer and everything running around it and dogs getting funky on it, all that stuff, that dam, I now have access to that dam. And I didn't know, because often I'd sit there and I'd see deer in the 700-800 metres away. There's another dam over that lip, which is also a dam that they move between those two dams.
you got access to the top dam as well? And the other dam is on your...
Yeah, it's
your
the same
block?
property, and they're almost in a direct line of sight. But you can't see it because the undulation, but they're about parallel in terms of, if you were to contour, they're about they're pretty much on the same contour line. It looks like a bigger dam. So when I'm up there I'm going up there on the 7th in the afternoon just to check those trail cameras. I'm going to just car across and walk, and I'll probably take a couple of trail cameras and put them on a dam each to see what's going on, because last year I had a pretty ordinary roar, because one, I got rained on, and two, there was unwanted visitors on the block. However, every time I've seen stags on that block. So I might have a chance this year, which would be really great. And speaking of unwanted visitors, unfortunately for the landowner, he said that is become kind of part and parcel for them up there.
Such a pity.
They just can't, and which, just kills it for everybody. Just, the idea of approaching someone to get access has just disappeared because there's so many people. And he said, shot from the road, and that road is not a dirt track. That's a road. That's quite
a busy road. Yeah.
And he said they'll shoot from the road. You think, holy moly, that's a country arterial. So crazy. But anyway, so the good news is I've got access. I've increased my access in the Brisbane Valley. So I'm going to go looking. And hopefully I'll get myself a nice red this year, which will go with one of the purchases I did, which is one of those Stony Creek meat safes.
Oh, I was nearly going to buy one of them.
Well, I'll raise your nearly, and with I did. I bought one.
Fantastic.
And the other thing I have, which I didn't buy, but I had already, I've got a little thermometer, and I want to actually see.
You said you were going to test the meat.
Well, I was thinking it'd be interesting I'll still break up the animal, but put it in that meat safe, skinned, hanging up with that little, as we spoke about with Lawson, the little ball joint exposed, and put the thermometer on it and see what kind of actually temperatures you get while you're hanging in the shade while it's trying to cool down. I'm really interested to understand that temperature.
That would be good. I was going to do the same thing, but the thermometers that I use for steaks fell a bit. And put it into a nice roast beef, and when I tried to pull it back out again, the sleeve came out and the electronics stayed inside.
Oh wow!
Nice.
Yeah, kind of ruined it a little bit. It's like spitting shotgun pellets out. Had to find circuit board components. Anyway, that's the way that goes. It's a bit of a shame.
I do have one of those stabby ones, but I didn't think of actually using that on a carcass. I found
it's doing the same job, wouldn't it?
I just didn't think of it that way. Yeah, I got a cheap one that's basically just a fold out pointer. You just poke it in and it's got a digital read, so that certainly would work as well.
Yeah. It's worth it. I'd like to understand how quickly you can get that meat cooled down. I was listening to that podcast as we were going through the edit process, just thinking about how good that would be. Out of interest, you're talking about scouting that other block that you've just picked up. Have you managed to put the new improved Google Earth skills to the test over that block?
Yeah. So I've looked at both Google Earth Pro on my desktop, and I've also got Google Earth, but it's not a Pro version, on my phone.
Yeah.
Which I want to try and navigate with. I actually want to experiment, see if I can navigate with it, or more locate with it. So because I want to approach this second dam, I don't want to just walk up to it. So I want to approach it. So depending on the wind, I'm going to figure out which, and also shot placement, as always, up there is a consideration. You know, you're not on thousands and thousands and thousands of acres, so you got to think about shot placement. And so if I was to approach it with the intent that if there was something on it, I might take that thing, I've got to think about how to approach it. So I've been using the Google Earth on the phone, but certainly on the desktop, I've reset that. I can't think what it's called. You know, where you reset the angle, and it gives you
elevation.
That it gives you a much more
elevation exaggeration,
much more true image of what the land looks like. Because when you look at it, you know, standard on Google Earth, it almost looks kind of flat. Yeah. So when you look at that, you get, and I was, you know, as we found when you looked at like Nundle in that, you went, oh yeah, that's what it looks like. That's what it really looks like. It doesn't look like this kind of big flat surface. It looks like that.
Murder Dog, I'll do that. That's fine. You turn on elevation.
But it still makes me want to do it, because I think if it looks like that, then what's in there? Something pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, there was some fun chat about that on our
there was
Hunt Camp chat today, suggesting that we could drone fly a Zolio prize into the bottom of the Murder Dog. First person to get down there to find it can send us a message and keep it.
That is an interesting approach, isn't it? You can
I'm
turn
not sure,
it on.
Not sure if anything goes seriously wrong. We won't be in trouble for doing that, but yeah, it was fun as an idea.
Well, if there's something goes wrong, at least they've got the device to get them out.
If they make it that far.
Yeah, you got to get down there first.
That's right. If you want to get out, if you want the helicopter to get you.
Someone suggested that Hunt Camp was going to be more like the Hunger Games this year.
Oh, I hope not. I really don't need that kind of reputational damage. So let's not, guys. Let's not, guys. Let's just all think about that.
Anyway, that's all good fun and games.
Speaking of Hunt Camp, that's getting closer and closer.
Oh man, I'm so pumped for it. We got so much good stuff going on with it. I'm really looking forward to it.
Hey,
and a good solid crew coming.
FYI, I've got a giveaway for Hunt Camp.
Oh yeah,
it's not Kuyu either.
He's not giving that away.
No, but I've got a brand new Breda jacket that I realised.
What?
Yeah.
Huh?
I have a brand new Breda jacket that.
Oh, that's right. I remember that.
Yeah. So, guys, as part of the prize giveaway is a brand new Breda jacket in large.
Right. So
even branded Breda.
Describe us the jacket. What is it?
It's like a bomber jacket style. If you're old like me, you probably wore something like this in the 80s and 90s with Doc Martens.
Is it like got any thermal properties to it, or is it just a shell?
It's insulated. So it's a jacket in itself. It's not a shell. It's an insulated. It's very similar to like a bomber jacket. You know, the powdered bomber jacket. It's got an big internal zip there for internal pocket. Yeah. It's got the tensioners in the sleeves. You know, so keep it around here. It's big pockets. It'd certainly be, you could hunt with it, but it'd certainly be something very comfortable around camp too. Zipper jacket, very much in the traditional bomber jacket style, but with a bit of Italian flair in it because it's Beretta. And
I can't spin around to my other computer and see how many large attendees we have coming. I've got everyone's shirt sizes because of the Hunt Camp shirt. So.
It's designed in Italy. There you go.
Oh, it's in the chat.
Okay. Yeah, it's in the chat. That's what I was checking.
Oh, yeah, we can always give it away now. It's probably only one.
I'm Elijah.
No. You don't qualify, buddy.
You don't get.
I know.
Sorry, but you don't get it. That'll be seen as cooking the books. Is there anyone large in the? Oh, I'm not going to say that. Okay.
We're just checking.
Yeah, there is, because I've got the list here that I was double checking over the other day.
So
Yeah,
well,
I've got it.
on the chat group, ask a question. Mark wants to know how many gentlemen would
2, 3,
suit
4,
a
we got
large.
4 and large.
Yeah.
4 and
1 in
large.
4 chance. All right.
Say again?
There's a 1 in 4 chance, and 2 of them were talking about going into Murder Dog today. 3 of them actually were on the Murder Dog chat today. So
There you
they
go.
I
could,
think whoever gets to the bottom of Murdoch gets the jacket.
all right. We'll see how
And
we
gets
go
out.
with that.
Yeah.
Gets out
So
with-
yeah, tell them that there is a jacket as a lucky door prize.
All right. We'll
If
let
there
them know.
was a door, it'd be lucky.
But other than that, we have quite a bit of stuff coming from our corporate partners. So it's been really nice to get everyone's support. It's a much bigger group this year than last year. We've certainly booked out the majority of the park for the period of time that we're there, and a few of the surrounding ones. So we got I think we got somewhere like 25 or 26 hunters and 4 or 5 non-hunters that are coming in. So it'll be a busy time. We've got the rangers that are going to come in. DPR Range is going to come in and have a yarn, and a few others. So yeah, it's going to be fun. Really looking forward to it. We've got a countdown on. I think it's like 1 month.
1
and 16
day,
days.
1 month, 16 days. Yeah.
And we'll be into it.
Yep, I'm just typing in, tell them I got a large Beretta bomber jacket to add to the prize pool.
Very good. Right, what's
Um,
next?
I don't know. What's next? That. Well, actually, I'll tell you what's next. Someone asked me a poignant question about. Okay.
You're probably going to ask me
You
after the
thought
same
something.
question.
Okay, go. Don't let that thought go. Go for it.
Well, I figured we could talk through the first aid kit.
Oh yeah, we could do.
I thought that might have been where you were going. We
No.
had someone query us about first aid, because we spoke about it a little while ago, and we said we might put the list of what's in our first aid kits up, but we didn't.
Well, I can tell you that. I'll just look it up. So we had a inquiry about first aid kits, and actually Mark Hobbs is actually we spoke on the weekend. We were up at his property about he's got this idea for a kind of first aid / survival kit that is very compact, very small, so it go in your pack, and he get rid of all the unnecessary stuff. So that stuff would be back at base, but if you were out and you needed this kind of first aid kit, and that's what it is. So he's actually developing one. However, we got an inquiry about first aid kits, and I can't think of the gentleman's name now off the top of my head, but I'm sure you'll look it up while I'm talking. He asked about first aid kits and what was in it, and what I carry is what's called a serious wound module. So it's a standalone kit to deal with serious wounds, and it's kind of designed to be like a one application kit. The idea is they're part of modules, part of a much bigger kit, so you buy the whole module. So the idea is if it's a serious injury or a serious wound, the stuff's in there for it. So I carry that in my pack, and the only thing that I've added to it is a snake bite bandage with the indicator on it, again because that's pretty serious. So and back at camp or in the back of the truck, I have a huge first aid kit that I've built over the years from various bits and pieces. So that's the kind of band-aids, all that kind of stuff. In my pack, I carry something that's if you're in trouble. That's my approach. And I'll throw it over to one of you guys, and while I'm doing that, I'm going to look up my kit and tell you exactly what's in it.
Yeah, so I run by the theory that you need to take what you need to take for the minor things that are likely to happen. Most first aid kits that you buy these days, they're manufactured overseas. the product, by the time you get around to using it, is often perished, or the elasticity's gone, so it's hopeless. You can pay a pretty premium for going and buying what looks like a pretty good first aid kit and just throwing it in the back of your car and your pack and then never using it, hoping. But that thing's going to be full of all sorts of stuff you don't need. So it's a good idea to understand what you will need. And for me, it's stripped right back to basics. Various different sizes of Band-Aids. If you cut yourself, we're working with knives. There's a chance you're going to cut yourself. There's a chance you'll get some sort of laceration. So you need various different sizes of Band-Aids. Moving up from there, you need what Mark was talking about before. I don't call it a serious wound kit, but certainly a wound dressing. Something that's, if you've pierced yourself, people are out there with bows and sharp, pointy arrows. It's quite easy to impale yourself on something like that if you're not being careful. So, you need to be able to cover a reasonable wound, and something like that is of value. The snake bandage that Mark talked about with the indicator on it, it's amazing how much pressure you need to put on a, for a snake dressing. If you get one of those things, in fact, get two of them, get one to put in your pack, and get the other one just to practice on, so you get a feel for how tight that shit needs to be. It needs to be tight, and those indicators help you with that. One thing that I put in that Mark hasn't mentioned is a tourniquet. If you do cut yourself and you get yourself in an artery or something like that, you need to be able to seal that thing off. A tourniquet is very, very helpful. A lot of the technical clothing that we wear these days cinches at the waist. It has its own little belt things, and often we're not carrying a leather belt or wearing a leather belt like we might have used to. So you can't just whip that off and use it as a tourniquet. So a good rubber tourniquet is lightweight, takes up little space, could save your life. Other than that, I take things like an eye bath. So you get most first aid kits will have an eye bath and an eye wash. If you get poked in the eye, man, it's horrible. Mark nearly got poked in the eye by a bug the other day when we were out hunting. He got really smacked on the cheek. That's not far from his eye. Getting that rubbish out of your eye as fast as you can is important. And the same with any other little things that stick into your body. So a pair of tweezers and a needle, it's a good idea. But the things that I've spoken about there, that is a fraction of what comes in those first aid kits. Just by adding a couple of more hunt-specific items, I think you've done pretty well to take care of the things that might happen to you while you're out there, but won't stop you walking. If something stops you walking, like a snake bite, or that a cut to an artery or something like that, then you just need to be able to immobilize yourself, get yourself comfortable, hit the button on the Zolio or the EPIRB that you're carrying, and get the hell out of there. That's pretty much my theory on first aid in the bush.
I'm very much the same. Very, very much. I think back at camp or in the back of the ute, I've actually got the Zolio first aid kit. That's actually, I thought that was really good. It came in handy. I'm not sure, but
you can buy them. Yeah, it's like a promo.
Yeah, it might have been a promotional thing. Yeah.
It was really good.
Yeah, like when we were at Fraser, we had, I had to go up and get that from the ute because someone had slipped and landed on the barnacles and cut themselves pretty badly. So, I find that's a great kit for base camp, but not for carrying around. It's a bit big and bulky. But yeah, my setup's very, very similar to yours. A couple of extras that I chuck in, but for me, snake bandage is probably one of the most important. Plus, something to stop bleeding, tourniquet, tampons I carry, just in case for a major wound. If you slip and get or someone running around with a gun and shoots you, at least you can potentially stop that bleeding before your head go on the there. That for me is probably the most important piece to get.
The interesting thing about knives and cutting yourself is it's almost, we kind of almost guarantee that it's going to happen. And what I mean by that is, if you think about hunting an animal, unless you kind of do it first thing in the morning as you walked out and it's right in front of you, generally, there's some hours in the pursuit and the location of animals. There's going to be a period of time where you're running at a much higher heart rate because, you're dealing with the situation of lining up. You then shoot the animal. If you're successful and the animal goes down on the ground, you've gone through all this kind of stressor, and then what you do is what they tell you never do when you're stressed, and that is handle machinery.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
and you know, do not operate when you're tired. Yeah, okay, sure. So now, and then of course there's the wrestling itself of actually getting the animal in place, and then you pull out very, very sharp knives, and you get to work with very, very sharp knives. And what I found over the years is nothing beats the little metal glove that I carry in my pack. It's far more impressive than any Band-Aid I can carry. I got one of those, my wife bought me one of those little meat workers gloves. It's
your Michael Jackson glove, is it?
Yeah, that's it. But the trouble is because it's I'm a lefty, it's a right hand, so I have to wear it kind of reverse, but it still does the job. The clips the kind of the wrong way up. But yeah, so that in itself is proved to be invaluable for injury, because and there's times I've been doing it and I've felt it drag and gone, oh, okay, there you go, just that was it then. And so I've actually decided that with that I'd rather in the first instance try to protect my hand rather than worry about first aid. I want to protect my hand. The other thing is I don't use I've stopped using the replaceable razor blade knives for that reason as well. There was a couple of times I was working on an animal and I thought, okay, where have I put that blade down? Where is it? Where's that old blade? What's going on? And am I now walking around in the scrub with a 3/4 blunt razor blade somewhere on there? So I've actually I took the approach that I wanted to, from a hierarchy of control in terms of risk, remove the risk as much as I can. So I've approached it a little bit differently over the last couple of years, and so far it's worked for me.
Yeah, knives are I dare not bring up the subject of knives. We'll be here all night, Mark. But I sort of half agree. I've always used a good quality what we would call a hunting knife, a drop point knife. It's a nice size. It's actually the one that I use is quite small. It's sitting over there. I should get it. It's this big.
Yep.
And for those that can't see, it's about the length of the bottom of the palm of my hand up to the top of my.
So what's about finger? 3.5 inch blade?
Oh, isn't that 6 inches?
The blade, my friend. If that's 6 inches, that explains a lot.
That's why women have played with measurements, is what I've been told.
That's when Ian tells you that he just landed a 400-yard shot.
I've been told this is 6 inches. Yeah.
He's using it as measurement.
Yeah, mate.
So I don't know how long it is.
Looks like about 3.5 inch.
Yeah, it's that long. There you go. It's just that long. Anyway, it's a solid knife. Like it's got some, it's a good knife. I really enjoy using it. It's the right size. It's not too big. It's not too small. But to your point, Mark, I've got a razor blade one as well, and I really like it. It feels nice. It's really good. But it does worry me about the replaceable knife, components of it. And yes, you could carry around a sharps container or a little container to put it in. It's just something else you got to muck around with. Well, it's so light. For me, it's not the weight.
It's not the weight. I just felt.
What if it comes out? What if it now stabs the bladder? What if it, stabs through the pack? What if lots of things can go wrong with it? I still bring it, but I don't use it. For butchering in the field. I use it for caping out something really finely if I want to. Good to do the head capes with a scalpel. Yeah,
that's it. If I'm sitting down and I'm back at camp and I'm resting, that's when I use it. I haven't got rid of the one. I just don't carry it with me in the field when I'm doing that initial butchering, because that's when all the things are against you at that time.
Yeah.
So you need to kind of you need to really reduce any kind of risk at that stage. Because that's when you're tired. That's when you're going to make a mistake. So that's why.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And there's a whole process. Everyone goes through it differently. I know I used to panic's the wrong word. Get an animal down on the ground and then go through the process of, okay, what have I got to do now? Get it butchered up. Get the hell out of here. It's going to get dark because often it's late in the afternoon. If you can just chill out.
Yeah.
And really have a coffee, enjoy the moment, soak it up. So what? It's going to get dark. It's just dark. Like most of us now, we're comfortable enough with backtracking where we've come from with an Avenza map. Most of us will probably know where we are to start with and a direction to go. Like unless you're really concerned you're going to get lost, God, just take the time. It's so much more enjoyable to take the moment and soak it up and have a rest and steady yourself and then get into the work.
That's what I've done over the last. You in trouble. Yeah. That's what I've done over the last few years. I've slowed down that process because that's it. You just kind of, they're like once you shoot the animal, that's when all the work starts and things like that. So you kind of almost hype it up. I've realised just slow it right down and make it really, really simple. And that's another reason why I prefer shorter blade knives because you've got more control over them. There's a higher level of dexterity. So again, that's why I really like that Benchmade knife. It's I think that's what a hunting knife should be. It's got a relatively thin blade, but when you think about the cutting edge, its shape, it's got quite a long cutting edge, but it's not long because of the shape of it, the radius of it. It's got that rubberized handle. You can wash it in anything, and it's very easy to hold and use. So I really like that knife, but that's it. I just slow everything down. You don't want to rush that because that's when you're going to turn around and go, oh look, there's that really sharp knife sticking out of my other hand or something like that.
How long did you think this knife was?
I thought the blade was about 3.5 inches. The
blade. I was talking about the knife. I was talking about the knife plus handle.
Yeah, well, I mean, but
it's about
the blade.
The blade is just a touch under 4 inches.
There you go. So I thought the blade was about 3.5. Yep.
Oh no, 3.5. It's just a bit over 3.5 inches.
Here you go.
Oh, here we go.
According to
from 4 inches to 3.5 inches.
It's kind of like a reverse auction, isn't it?
And see, look, see.
So yeah, it looked about 3.5.
Went from 6 to.
That's right.
Well, I was talking about the whole knife, not just the bloody. Oh yeah, cool.
And he's trusting his Apple.
Exact.
There you go.
That's exact. Yeah. Anyway, it's
I know knife.
It's a 3.5-inch blade. It's perfect.
That's it. That's
spot on.
And in fact, even smaller is not. It's not bad. What it is look at the blade shape, and you can get a longer cutting edge if you think about the radius. So the thinner the knife, in terms of
not about the size, it's how you use it.
So you wiggle it.
If that's what you need to tell yourself, mate, that's okay.
Love this knife. Anyway, it's now on the bench, ready to be sharpened. I bought one of those sharpening tools. I think we talked about these a little while ago.
Yeah.
Well, I had a session with way back in the day when we first started the podcast. Gordo came on and spoke to us about various different things, including knife sharpening. And then he came and did a session with me, but I stuffed the video up so I couldn't share it with everyone. But he had one of those bench-mounted, set the angle, put the grindstone on it.
Imbos or something like that.
And then they had wasabi ones and all sorts of knockoff brands.
I got a workshop one. Yep.
Well, I bought a knockoff brand, as you can imagine, and it was crap. It was so bad.
Is that the one you had at the Slam? We started doing the knives.
No, that one was okay. The one before that was really bad. It had no way to see the good ones. You sharpen one side and then you pull the knife forward on a spring and turn it over, and then you can do the other side. Well, the first one that I bought, you couldn't do that. You locked it into the vise, you sharpened one side, then you had to undo 3 Allen keys, turn it over, tighten it back up again, do it, and then you had to do that like 50 times to get your knife sharp.
And if you didn't get the angle right, you had different angles, I suppose.
The whole thing was hopeless.
Yeah.
This other one that I've got, it allows you to do all of that. It's still a cheaper version, but I was using it in the kitchen to sharpen some knives up, and the back end of it flew out and took the spring with it, and the whole thing's been hopeless for ages. Anyway, the dog found the part 6 months later. The dog's chewing on something the other day, and I said, "What are you?" I went over to the dog. It's spat out the steel end of this sharpening thing. Staffies, man, they eat everything.
I got the
anyway, so it's back in action. It's great.
I got the workshop version of that. The precision, so it's got 3 different stones on it, and you can wind it down to 14 degrees, so you can do a lot of different knives on it. So
nice.
but it's got the you kind of pull it and see that knife there is a fork even Idun. Jono, look how much up they are now, mate. Because they're you'll be surprised how much. Sheath again. You'd be precise how much. So that's that is like kind of my favorite
chunky
knife.
Blade.
It's my favorite knife, but it's more of a camp knife. I mean, I've used it in a hunting situation, and it's fantastic. But with the stacked leather handle and all that stuff, it doesn't lend itself to being washed in a creek and things like that. So, but that's a fantastic knife.
So what's your go-to? What's your go-to rip an animal apart hunting knife?
Either the Benchmade Steep Canyon or Hidden Canyon. I'm just going to check on those names because I get them around the wrong way. Bear with me.
What is it?
Benchmade Steep Canyon.
Benchmade are good knives.
Steep Canyon. Okay.
Steep Country.
Steep Country. That'd be right. That's it. Steeper Country. That is my go-to, or I think it's Hidden Canyon.
Steep Country. Where is it?
Yeah, it's an orange knife.
Yeah, Benchmade. Yeah.
Or the Hidden Canyon, which is a slightly smaller. So on my...
Oh, that's the one that you've got on your bino rig.
That's right. On bino rig, I carry the Hidden Canyon. And in my pack, in my meat processing gear, I've got the Steep Country. And then I've also got the Benchmade Meat Crafter, which is the longer knife that I use back at camp.
That Steep Country Hunter knife is a slim version of that other one you were just showing.
Yeah,
it's the
slimmer.
same shape.
It's actually a relatively thin blade. You can see it's got quite a belly on it, so you actually get quite a long cutting edge, though it's not long. That's what I was talking about, what they call a belly. So because the shape, you get a very long contact point. So if you're skinning and things like that, you've got that long contact point without having to have a long knife, long blade to do it. It uses that kind of rubberized, I'm sure it's got a proper name, the rubberized grip
handle,
and you'll see that it's a full tang, so that the grip is actually molded around the tang. It's not a reduced, it's a full tang. And it's got
a mild drop point.
For the grip, the actual you actually, if you look at it, you can actually see the tang come through the grip. So it's got a top grip of metal and a rubber grip, and it's finished in a kind of a matte finish, and it comes in one of those Kydex sheaths. So you can clean that with anything. If there's anything to clean a knife, that you can use it for that thing. Bit of creek water, whatever, wipe it on grass.
Pretty rugged looking thing.
It is. It's a remarkably practical knife. It's not a camp knife in that you wouldn't use it for anything other than meat processing. It's not it's not meant for chopping or anything like that, but for a hunting knife. And so when people ask me what hunting knife I should buy, I say that's the hunting knife you should buy. And
fair enough.
And the
we'll throw this knife up in the in the featured product section of the website after this, so that you can go and find it.
It might already be on my page.
Oh, it'll be on your page. We'll try on the featured product.
I thought it was.
Yeah, and the Hidden Canyon lives on my bino rig. I leave it on the bino rig, and you'll notice that when I wear it, whilst it's a blaze orange sheath, it looks black because that's the reverse side. That's because I like to have the blade facing away from me when I'm putting it back in. So it's point towards enemy type thing. So keep it sharp.
Otherwise, we'll go back to our first day.
That's right. I'm going to stab myself. So that's it. Keep it sharp, and it's a very handy knife to have there up if you have it right there.
About you, Johnny?
Yeah, for the knife that I carry as my breaking down is actually a custom knife that I got made. Probably 10, no more than that now. So my mate who introduced me to hunting, Rory, I've spoken about him many times on the podcast. We actually got each other custom knives. You're not yeah. So there's some sort of thing where you're not supposed to give someone a knife. If someone does give you a knife, you should give them
metal.
Give them $1.
No, you give them
Metal
metal.
knife
No, you
from
give them
you.
metal. You give
Yeah.
If someone gives you a knife,
Yeah.
you give them metal. Yes.
Oh, it depends
Yeah,
on
so-
different cultures, different things. Yeah, I heard the other
Yeah.
day if you've got to give someone $1 and then they can buy the knife. And then that way,
We got each other custom knives, and
Yeah.
we actually got them. They're actually fallow deer antler handles,
yeah, nice.
which is so there's a custom knife made by a custom knife maker in South Africa. So I got Rory's and he got for me. That's my sort of go-to. Otherwise, I've got one of the what are they? The bush edge
Yeah, I like
knives,
those.
the blaze orange, but the one with the removable
Yeah.
razor
No.
blade.
Yeah.
I've got that, and I've got that that I keep back at camp, and that's my if I'm doing skinning or if I'm doing caping or anything back at camp, that's the one that I'll use.
That's exactly the one I carry too. The one that's more like a knife, but it's a replaceable edge. Because I actually
But what I like about that one is that mine's actually got the gut hook on it as well,
Oh,
which I
okay.
find really useful.
Do you use
for
the
splitting
gut hook?
open. I do for
How
splitting
do you
open the chest
sharpen those
cavity.
things?
I've never had to. It's been so sharp.
I've never had any luck with gut hooks.
No, I
Just can't
think it
get
works
the angle
brilliantly.
right.
When you get it right, it just slices straight up. So it's great for back at camp, but I don't carry it for the same reasons about having
Yeah.
loose razor blades lying around.
I had one custom knife made. My father, who passed away when I was a teenager, was given a giant. I don't know. It was a really good quality. I'm not going to call it Swiss Army, but it was a really good quality bit of steel. But it was like a don't know, Rambo knife, I guess you could call it that, as a wedding present from his brother, strangely enough. And it just went in a drawer. And when I was packing up and moving things to come to move over to Australia, I threw it in my bag, and it just stayed under in a cupboard for years and years and years. And eventually I decided to do something with it. So I gave it to a knife maker and asked him to turn it into a good quality drop point. And he had to slim it right down by about 3/4 of the width of the blade just to get it to something that was reasonable. Spent a lot of time on it, but yeah, made a really nice knife, similar to the style you've got there, Mark. It's a much deeper blade than the one I'm used to, but never been used. It'll be a gift for my son for the first one that we get to carve up, hopefully, which is one of the things I like to do. I mean, a lot of people like family heirloom type things, and people do it with an old gun or a first gun, but I'm sure, Mark, you will have done it with your boys.
Yeah,
or will be about to do it with your boys with knives you've collected.
I know I bought them both G96 knives. So G96 was once was it was kind of like an everyman brand, but a very good quality one. They were Japanese. They were American knives and made in Japan. G96, and they looked at very traditional scout knife like, so like black Baker-like style handle.
Pocket knife.
No, fixed blade, but like a the black Bakelite style grip, and the sheath is one of those fully fold over ones. So it fully folds over, and they did make folders as well. And some years ago, Gun Exchange got a big bundle of them. So I went and bought 2 G96 fixed blade Scouts and 2 G96 folders. And last year we gave Elias the G96 at Nundle, the fixed blade, and he wore it on his belt. And I don't know if he used it on a deer, but he helped out Darcy with processing deer. Held the legs, and while Darcy talked him through what it's doing. So
that's good. That's good skill.
Nice.
Yeah. So, and it's got to say I'll have a matching folder, and then they are just a good quality Japanese steel, American branded. I think they may have been assembled in America or something like that. It was one of those post-war companies that use Japanese steel or Japanese manufacturing, stuff like that. G96. They actually make spray lube type thing called G96. They make that as well. It's gun,
Oh,
like a
that's
gun
where I
lube.
know
Yeah,
that from.
G96.
I've got a can of that.
Yep.
Yeah, I've got a can of that.
G96. The very same.
Mhm.
I thought Ian was going to produce a can of it then, right? So that's what I got from my. Because what happened was when I first, because I don't have any family heirlooms like that. So when I first started doing it, I started collecting heirlooms that I would like to get, and I realized I was hitting way too high up on the chain for someone starting out, you know. So I went, no, he needs something that he can learn on, and and in 5 years it's kind of ground down from sharpening it. So something he can learn on. So that's why I went and got him those knives. Same with the rifle, I had this Bruno number 2 Bavarian stock and all that stuff, and I thought he just needs something he can learn on. We'll get better stuff as he gets older.
Yeah.
So
yeah, for sure.
So I think I was going to talk about something else, but I think I've forgotten now. We went for first aid kits
about that?
and we went to knives.
Yeah,
No.
first aid kit was an important one. Well, where we go?
I was going to say, one thing that that's right. Someone was asking me about, so a couple of 3 or 4 years ago, I wrote a series of articles called Firsts, where I spoke about all these firsts that I did, and some of them, were humorous. Like once we were hunting the Pilliga and I was with Darcy, and we were up on Forest Way, and we wanted to get right down to the bottom. So we, instead of driving through, we drove out to the highway and belted down the highway and cut back in. And as we were belting down the highway, we saw one of those game council signs when it's still game council. And Darcy pointed out the signs, and underneath the sign, it said something like, regulated hunting in this area, something like that. And underneath the sign was a mob of goats. That was like, I've never seen that before. So someone had read that article, and they were asking me about things, and they said, and we got in this conversation about firsts, and I thought that was actually well worth kind of talking about some of the firsts that we may have experienced, either hunting or fishing or something like that. And it kind of probably leads in well to your story about you and you inheriting your dad's hunting knife. So that's what I was thinking about. Well, so that's what I want to bring up. And so because I've just dropped this on everyone, I'll give you what I mean. So because I got thinking about it. So I said, well, what's the first that happened that was kind of not just, that was really interesting? When, I lost my old man when I was pretty young, and we used to family holiday. That's me, my mother, and my brother down at Nambucca Heads in New South Wales. We used to stay in the caravan park. And my brother used to make, what sometimes are called gidgee sticks, which is basically a spear pot.
Yep.
So we'd buy the 4-prong head, and he would get just basically a piece of dowel and shim it and glue it in, and at the other end do the same for the rubber band, the driver. And because they were all threaded, but they were supposed to thread on a pole, so he said basically just shim down a bit of dowel and glue it on. So we had these timber ones that were glued together, and we were down at on the Nambucca River, so down from the headlands, and we were kind of walking on opposing sides of a little boat channel, so it was like to a boat ramp. And like boys do, he threw it at me. He went, "Look out," and just threw it at me, and the thing flew over, for, I don't know, I might have been 11 or something like that. He's 15, 16, threw the thing at me. I saw it coming through the air, and I got out of the way and it hit the beach, hit the sand, and I picked it up and I did the same thing. I threw it back at him. but I didn't have the strength, and it landed in the water. So like splosh, and he's laughing at me and stuff like that, and he throws it at me, and it comes over, and I get out of the way, and I'm getting more and more pissed off with him because he can throw it and I can't, and I'm just hurling it as hard as I can at him, like as brothers do, not thinking about what you're actually doing. And I throw it, and it hits into the water. And I still remember it hits in the water, and he goes to grab it, and then he has this look on his face, and he pulls it up, and there's a brim on it. And it was actually the first fish. It was the first fish we ever got with those bloody poles because they were useless.
That is not where I thought that was going.
No, same. I thought someone was going to end up.
I thought someone was going to lose half an arm.
He's looking at me, and I'm just going, like the little kid wins. He wins anyway, and it's got this brim flapping on it, poor thing, with these 4 barbs through it. So I thought about that. I thought about that was like one of the first experiences we had away and with spear poles and things like that. Because I then spearfished as I got older. I spearfished for many years, but that's how it all started.
You would love the big New Zealand rivers. Like I don't know, it's something I really miss. Living over here, but they're not all glacial mount rivers. They just have these whitewater rivers everywhere, just because of the sheer volume of water coming out of the mountains.
Yep.
From rainfall and things like that. But these places we used to go hiking as kids up the rivers. So I lived in a little town that was maybe it was the road that cut through the town was 5 k's to the beach and 5 k's to the mountains. So it was a 10-kilometre strip of land, went for about 100 k's, I guess, this way. And our town was in the middle of it. So you were either going to the coast or you were going to the bush. And I love both of them, but I spent a lot of time up in the bush. And you get up into those big rivers, and naturally you'd find areas where it'd calm down and it'd be big pools, and you could jump in and swim and whatever. But the eels were massive things. And talking about first, I had no appreciation for the age of these creatures, and we're talking eels that have girth the size of a baby's head, like big eels. And back in the day, like after I was sort of like my late schooling years, I used to do little holiday trips up into the bush where if 3 or 4 kids wanted to come, I'd organise food and we'd all go up there and we'd have a good time, and we'd fish and we'd hike and we'd basically get out of our parents' hair for the holidays. It was all relatively safe at the time. There were no incidents or anything like that. But after I'd done that for a little while, I got asked to come and assist on school camps, where the camps would go for a hike for 3 or 4 days into the bush, on a well-maintained track and using the hut facilities and things that they have in New Zealand. Well, this one particular time, we'd stopped at this river, and all the kids were in having a swim, and this eel just came out, and it was just coming up the river, like, winding its way up the river, and you could just see it from the banks, this huge bloody thing, and all of these little toes and fingers in the water. You could just see shit was going to go, and it was just like, it was like a Jaws scene. It was never going to eat anyone, but the size of these things are just, like, you're talking 40 kilo worth of eel, and you could catch it, and these things had never really been hunted or fished for. So we used to take baling twine with a shark hook and just throw a piece of sausage on it and catch it, because they were fearless. And then you'd fight this bloody thing, but and we'd drag them out of the water, and you're allowed to eel it over there at the time, and I think you probably still can. But these things were monstrous, and you'd get it out and you'd skin it and you'd build a smoker, and you'd go through that whole experience of pulling it out of the water and then consuming it. And it was just the most amazing thing. But those eels, I now find out, were probably 250 years old.
Really?
And I dare drag one out of the river and eat it. Like, I felt it was almost as bad as killing that duck I told you about a while ago. But anyway, that was one of those things that I will never forget. And they often do like community hunting weekends. Take a kid hunting or fishing. You can have eeling competitions and pig competitions and deer and all sorts of different things. Well, eeling was always a big one, and I just remember, they're just incredible animals. But anyway, that's eels. It's good fun. The bush up there is just amazing. It's worth going in and experiencing.
Lots of deer around there.
Plenty of deer everywhere. Yeah, it's just it's not even hard. If you want to go to New Zealand and hunt, you've just got to have the desire to do it. The first trip back, where I took a friend of mine, picked up my uncle in New Zealand who'd not really done any hunting. We literally we paid. I think we had change from $1,000 to fly to New Zealand, get in a helicopter the day we landed, ask the helicopter to drop us in a place that he thought was appropriate for deer hunting, somewhere within our budget range, which was about a 20-minute flight up into the mountains. And he landed us at a hut, and he said, no one's really been in hunting in here for a little while, so it's a pretty good spot. There's a resident possum trapper at that place, so say hi, Possum Pete we called him. And literally for $1,000 we flew there, got the helicopter, bought our food, bought a packet of ammo each, got dropped in there, stayed for a week, and then called the helicopter, took us back, jumped on a plane and went home again. The fees and permits are easy. You just got to have a crack. It's so much fun. So much fun.
What about you, John?
Yeah, I mean, while you guys were talking, I was trying to think of, firsts. And for me, there's been a lot, obviously for everyone. But, I mean, I grew up in a non-hunting family. I grew up fishing, though. And, it was always just fishing off the rocks and nothing really, too intense, maybe the odd brim or something like that. But I remember the one day I went down with a friend of mine, and I'd never really seen big fish being caught or anything like that. And we went down and we were actually catching live bait, because that's all we were good at catching was little stuff. And I remember we were catching these little things like this big, and we gave one to him. And I remember he got out this big hook, the biggest hook I'd ever seen in all my life. And he put this live bait on and he threw it out. And next thing you know, he caught this monstrous, it was actually a trevally. And I'd never seen, a big fish like that. Didn't even know they existed in the sea before. And for me, that really opened my eyes to, to fishing and the type of fish that, you can catch. But for me on that day, I was hooked about seeing these big trevally. I just stayed catching live bait. And these guys came down late in the afternoon and they had a big cast net and they were trying to catch live bait and they just couldn't get any. And because I was just catching all these little ones, I kept giving them to them. And they ended up actually sort of becoming like my adopted family. And it was, it was really just, for me, it was a first in that I'd never seen such big fish, and it actually became, I actually got introduced to meeting a new family, and they took me under their wing and almost adopted me, and they became family to me. So for me, that was a really special day. How fishing can just bring people together. For me, that was a real special day. One that really sticks in my mind. It shows how little kid on the beach catching little fish can grow into amazing things if you just help them out and give them a hand.
Doesn't take much, does it?
No. And it's interesting the progression from fishing to hunting. I think that's can't be understated. I mean, that's how my boys became comfortable with meat processing, and that for me, that was it. Because I didn't come from a hunting family at all. I lived in inner city Brisbane, and we used to hunt the Brisbane River. This is an indicator how old I am. Down on basically where the bypass is now, the North Quay bypass that goes through behind, just there at Lane Park and all that. That used to be down there. It was completely different. There used to be an Arnott's biscuit factory there on the river. There's a factory used to make right there. And in George Street in Brisbane, Carl Schultz gun shop used to be in George Street before it moved up to Red Hill. And we used to go there all the time as kids. We used to go just in there because it was like an old gun shop, wooden floor and the guns on the wall. It's quite dark and stuff. And it was just this kind of really weird place where there was guns that you could see them, because none of us grew up around those. I had that. But the reason we used to mostly go in there is they used to sell fishing tackle, but he used to sell it to us. And I don't know if he did this because he just took pity on us or what it was, but he would sell it by weight. So we would literally go in there with a few cents amongst us, and we'd buy one big chunk of lead, one big hook, and we had somewhere, I don't know exactly remember where we got it from, but we had some, like old 100-pound mono, that was literally like paracord thick, and we would rig this rig up, and we'd have or a chunk of luncheon meat sausage still in the plastic wrap, and go down to pass on the other side of the road on the rocks there on the Brisbane River below Aunt's biscuit factory, and put this hook in it and just go throw it out in the river and just sit there for hours on end, and eventually it'd go doing, and then these two boys, because it was me and my mate, would just have this slugfest of whatever it is, and sometimes it was a shark, but mostly what it was these massive catfish, that estuarine catfish, so fishtail catfish, estuarine catfish. And once that was still a very busy road as it was in Brisbane then, and we must have been down there in the afternoon once because school holidays, and we had the line tied to a rock, so basically the fish would have to pull the wall off to get away, and the line wouldn't snap, and we couldn't get the fish in, and me and my mate were struggling for some time trying to drag this whatever it was in. And I remember a guy driving home or whatever he was looked down and saw two kids getting dragged around by it, pulled his Kingswood over, got out, clambered down these rocks in his work clothes, and goes, "What do you got here, boys?" And said, "We got something." And he helped us muscle it in. It was this catfish, mate. And it was like it could eat one of us. It was so big. And then he goes, "What are you going to do with it?" We went, "I don't know." And we didn't have a knife or anything amongst us. And he went, "Oh, wait here." And he went back to his car. And he came back, and he didn't have a knife. He got his tire iron with the little blade end on it, and he's put the as close up to the hook as he could, and he started stabbing it until he finally cut it, and then let this catfish go. So yeah, that idea of starting rough and starting young leads to a long journey. Oh, well, everyone's gone quiet.
We've paused.
Everyone's reminiscing.
Everyone's reminiscing. Yeah, that was it. So that there for me, it started with fishing, and it started with fishing that was pretty primitive fishing.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say it's how you say there's a connection between fishing and hunting. As I said, I grew up in a non-hunting family. I grew up without my dad around. My mum raised us. She tried to support us through fishing. But I remember, and you were talking about the gun shop there in Brisbane. We had a gun shop or a sportsman's store in Durban where I grew up, and it was called King Sports. It still actually exists to this day. But in order to get to the fishing section, you had to walk past all the guns. So you would walk into the main door, and then it would be all the guns on the wall. And for me, that was always this dream that was just, guns, wow. I'd never shot a gun. I'd never held a gun or anything at that point. You had to walk past all the guns to get to the fishing equipment. Yeah. And I still remember it to this day. And now I'll go straight to the guns.
That's it. That's it.
But yeah, I'll never forget that.
I often think about the transition through fishing to hunting, and you're talking about using that to educate or bring your boys through the process. I've started thinking about using that to educate my boys' teachers through the process, because I'm at a stage now where he's in year one. He's starting to talk about the things that he likes to talk about. And, he's got new teachers like everyone does at the beginning of the year. And you've got to start that process again of what we do as a family and, sustainable harvest of protein in the bush. And that's how we feed. And, it's our preference. And we grow lambs and they get slaughtered. And, Dave talks about that sort of stuff right now. He knows on Wednesday that, I drop him off at school and I'm going to pick him up after school, and we're going to go to the shooting range because that's now clay target shooting practice day. So I drop him off, and he's the cutest kid. It doesn't matter what friends run up to him when he gets to school. He always has to wait at the brown fort for me to drive past so he can wave goodbye, which is really nice. It's a nice little moment for us. And because I always do drop off, Mum doesn't get to experience that. But anyway, it's on a Wednesday. It's see you this afternoon for shooting, Dad. And right, he's yelling over the car park where all the parents and children, and I'm like, I need to have that fishing chat with the teachers.
Yeah,
that's got to happen now. They've got to understand it. Because anyway, it's not a bad way to ease people into it.
No, most definitely. Like we were at swimming squad training on Tuesday night, or Tuesday afternoon, and my oldest boy was in the car, and his mate who he trains with, his mother said, "Oh, can you drop them both off home?" I said, "Sure, no problem." And his mate was talking about scouts, and he said, "Like, I've just got my grey wolf badge or something like this," and I went, "Oh well," and he was kind of saying to my boy, say like, you should come along, and to my to I don't know, some level of joy, he said, "No, I'd much rather go hunting with Dad than go to scouts," and I went, Win.
Doing okay.
Win. He said it. I went, yeah. He kind of went, yeah. It sounds fun, but I go hunting, and we go 3-4 days. Because he was talking about camping, so we do this and we do that, and we do walk and all that stuff. And I just went, well, that's a win. I'll take that one. But that idea about the kids and educating. I remember when he was very young, so he was only like 3 or 4, and his brother he was still an infant. We had the weapons licensing. The local coppers come around to do a safe inspection, and and I said they rang him up and I said, "Sure, whenever you come over when you want, whatever." So they turned up and went through the safe inspection. We had a chat about stuff, and all their paperwork was out of date, and as it is, and all that stuff. And we went through it. It was all very easy. And just as I was leaving, his mum came home with him and just picked him up from daycare. Came home and said, and the coppers were talking to him, and he shushed the coppers because he said, "My brother's asleep." He went, "Shh, be quiet, my brother's asleep." Because I'd be saying, "Mate, quiet, your brother's asleep." So he kind of, and so the coppers were a bit taken aback, and they gave him this little sticker, which was like a little junior police badge sticker. And I stuck it on a lanyard from I had a lanyard around, so it was like a badge you could wear around his neck. And he wore it everywhere, and he took it to daycare and next couple of days, maybe the same next day, but very soon afterwards, I got an interesting conversation because he was at daycare and they said, they said, "Oh, what do you got there?" And he goes, "Oh, I got a badge the police gave me." And they go, "Oh, well, why did the police give you a badge?" And they said, "Oh, the police came over to my house to talk to my dad about all his guns."
Does raise an eyebrow too.
Yeah, definitely.
And they said, "Well," I said, yeah, I got lots of them. That's it.
Well, I haven't had that chat yet.
Look, to be honest, I've actually found that it's been remarkably has been an event at all. And also what I've found, which is really interesting, and I actually wrote about this in an article not so long ago, is that I've met people who are hunters and shooters who, at the local convenience store, they have a separate coffee section, and one of the people who worked there, a girl by the name of Sarah, I was on target, and she was there with the family. They hunt every year on private property for pigs, and we got talking. Yeah. So every time I go in there, where I was talking about, actually I gave her a cap. And there's another guy, and his name escapes me right now, but he's also a hunter, and he went, "Hey, yeah," and I said, "Yeah, that's me." And and in fact, I mean, some of the teachers have said, they've done that thing where he goes, "Oh, you're killing pigs, so that's okay," type thing. Oh, that's how they want to process it. That's how they want to process it. But I've never really found a problem with it at all. I'm sure that I'm sure some people have, but I've always found it pretty much, you do something that we don't do, but that's okay.
We've only had one minor issue. We just had to politely put her back in her place. But yeah, she had to talk to me about the fact that Zave was talking about cutting things heads off and scaring the other children. This is back in daycare, and he was talking about processing fish on Fraser.
Yeah.
Right. And the teacher said to me, well, it's inappropriate that he's talking about that. And I said, no, what's inappropriate is that you as an educator can't understand what's happened and work that through with the children to talk to them about this is where food comes from and that it's okay. But she was very non-meat eating. I'm not going to say she was vegan. She was certainly vegetarian. Didn't approve of the lifestyle that some families lived. And we had to have a bit of a conversation about that. But beyond that, I found, I don't know if this is because not that I'm a religious family, but my boy is going to a religious school, as there are lots of private religious schools up in my area. They seem to have some of the more traditional groundings and probably a little bit less sensitive to hunting, gathering, primary production, where food and product comes from, than some of the more modern stuff that's popping up. I just think that they are. I'm going to get this all wrong. The order of things. I'll put it that way, rather than getting myself in trouble. They just sort of understand it a little bit better, and I've not had an issue really.
Yeah, strange enough, the only mention that we've ever got was actually from other kids. Because Elias is makes no bones about it. That's what he does. In fact, not last year, but the year before, or it might have been last year. He went on his first school camp, and he wore a Ridgeline blazer orange beanie. And because he likes wearing camo, and he wore that, and they actually said it was really. They actually kind of went, it's not a bad thing to have for kids because they could look out and kind of go, oh, there he is. There was just identification. But the trouble was, it was in October, and when I picked him up after 5 days, I literally threw that stinking, smelly rag. I just plucked it off his head and went in the bin. It was just
time and place.
Blank, like. He's like a dreadlock Rasta type beanie. Get out of my car! I don't want to be in my car. Go on, that Mary. So I threw it away. But yeah, he loves wearing camo. He loves it, but he likes being outdoors. He likes doing all that stuff. So,
well, it's finally rubbed off on you, and you've bought yourself some camo kuya. If we circle all the way around at the beginning, I'm sure he'll get the hand-me-downs, and he'll love them too.
I don't know if they'll. He's already a giant. He'll outgrow me in a couple of years. But yeah, so that's it. So I haven't really had too much problem. I thought I would, but most people seem to either politely. There was that once years ago. I had one where because I don't mind stirring the pot a little bit. A woman asked me when they were still really, really young, said, what school are you sending them to? And like, this is when the child they go to the school that was next to their daycare center. Literally, they go to that school. So, and that was always our intention because it's there. And so she said, what school are you sending the boys to, or your son to? I went, I don't know, next door. I haven't given it much thought. And she goes, what have you been thinking about? And I said, if he's left or right-handed. And she goes, why do you want to do that? And I said, because I want to know if he's going to inherit guns or I'm going to have to buy his own. She never spoke to me again, but it's no real loss.
Yeah, well, I mean, these conversations happen all the time. My wife came home the other day and said, "How often do kids marry their childhood sweethearts?" I said, "Well, probably not very often, but it happens occasionally." He said because he's only 6, but he's really friendly with this girl. Like they're good buddies. So it doesn't matter. They live in town. They don't have any deer land. It's not happening.
That's right.
So we'll have that conversation with them right up front.
That's right.
There's a pedigree here,
That's it.
and she ain't got it. She ain't got it.
No, that's it.
She may be lovely, but
No access.
anyway, no access. All right, we calling
Yeah,
it
let's call it.
Let's do that.
before we dribble on too much more about the stuff. It's been fun. Good chat.
Cool. Thanks, Jens.
Okay, I have to think
right.
about my new T-shirt for next week.
Yeah, we'll go buy one.
No, it's just over there.
He's got something lying in the
just
bag.
there. It's just
waiting to go.
Literally there.
All right, night, fellas.
Okay.
See you guys.